Now's the time to get involved. The Coalition for a Strong America is the only conservative grassroots organization meeting with congressmen and high-level staffers on a regular basis. Stephanie Scruggs, co-chairman, is concerned about the upcoming TPA vote.
First of all, what you need to know is that fast-track TPAs are still before Congress, where Congress gives their power to negotiate international trade agreements and treaties to the president.
She recommends contacting your representative and telling them to vote no on this measure. It comes to the floor this Thursday, June the 11th. For more information, go to coalitionforastrongamerica.com and let your voice be heard. This has been a special announcement from K98 Talk.
I'm just so happy my father had a chance to see his kids before he passed. I just want to say thank you.
When her father fell ill, the American Red Cross was able to help get Veronica's brother home from the Navy to speak to his father one last time. It's thanks to your donations that we can connect military families when they need it most. Please donate today at redcross.org.
If you want to work until you keel over, have less of everything in retirement, or give back more of your hard-earned money to the stock market again, then just ignore me. But if you'd like to protect the money you save, receive a steady, predictable retirement income, and enjoy financial security for as long as you live, then listen to this. You can download a free report that reveals the wealth-building secrets Wall Street and the banks don't want you to know. You'll learn how you can get guaranteed growth, safety, and real prosperity without risking your money in the Wall Street casino, and how to get the money you need when you need it, simply by asking for it. This is the best way to have a 100% secure retirement and know your money will last as long as you do. To learn more about this method and to get your free report, go to 52security.com. That's the number 52security.com. 52security.com. Go to 52security.com.
Hurt or injured in a car accident? It can be hard to take the proper legal action after a car accident, but waiting can cost you more. The law requires car accident victims to assert claims promptly. You could lose out by simply waiting. Call 800-709-4667 right now to see what your claim could be worth when handled by a skilled attorney. With a lawyer fighting and speaking up for you, you could be entitled to a big cash award. Call 800-709-4667. That's 800-709-4667. Now it's fast and easy to connect with the legal help you need after your car accident. Call 800-709-4667. The call is free, but you need to act now before time runs out on your claim. You need a lawyer to fight for you, protect you, and get you the compensation you need and deserve. Time's wasting. Call 800-709-4667. That's 800-709-4667. Call now.
I considered suicide so I wouldn't put my family through all the pain.
Many of our warriors are returning home from the battlefield, only to face a new war as they struggle with devastating injuries. At Wounded Warrior Project, we understand. We're there to help.
Even though you think you're broken, you're not. It's the physical and the emotional healing that Wounded Warrior Project provides.
With a gift of just $19 a month, you can join Wounded Warrior Project. You'll help provide critically needed programs and services that rebuild lives.
Beautiful. There you go, buddy.
The ongoing needs of our wounded and their families will continue for many years to come. Now is the time to show your support. Call now or go online with your gift of just $19 a month and we'll send you this Wounded Warrior Project blanket.
It made me feel that there's people out there that care about us.
After this event, we can finally maybe start to heal as a family and move forward.
We need your help. The families are hurting.
For many of our wounded heroes, the greatest casualty is being forgotten. That's why your gift of just $19 a month is so important. Please, call or go online right now.
The following letters were written by our troops.
My dear fellow Americans, I truly appreciate your support. I was starting to wonder if people had forgotten about us over here. But then one of my buddies showed me this website. And now as tears are streaming down my face, I can see for sure that you haven't. Private Emily B., U.S. Army.
It's so heartwarming to see the American people not letting the men and women of the armed forces be forgotten. Your letters make a group of grown men, battle-hardened and gruff, act like a bunch of kids around a Christmas tree. Thanks. Staff Sergeant Matthew H., U.S. Army.
Your support may be the most important thing our troops can carry with them. But don't take our word for it. Take theirs. To show your support, visit americasupportsyou.mil. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Defense and the Ad Council.
Millions of Americans every day are shedding unwanted pounds by taking tested and proven ultra-lipo-stick. Carbohydrates are bad. Our carbo-fighting antioxidant is good. Just listen to these satisfied customers.
My name is Gail, and I lost like 20 pounds on ultra-lipo-stick.
My name is Jared, and I lost 46 pounds using ultra-lipo-stick.
My name is Zach, and I actually gained weight. This stuff sucks!
Ultra-lipo-stick is safe and easy to inject. Just 3 doses 4 times a day discreetly underneath your fingernail. Listen to this.
I used ultra-lipo-stick and suffered from side effects like uncontrollable greasy discharge.
Ultra-lipo-stick, it turned the armpits of all of my shirts orange. This stuff is crap.
Try it today and see some real results. Ultra-lipo-stick. Not available in stores. Results may vary.
Zinc Media. Feel the power of knowledge.
Most politically incorrect black man on the planet, Rod Eccles.
Well, hello, my fellow Americans. Yes, it is I, your lovable host, Elrod, coming to you live from my bunkerized home studio somewhere within the great granite state of New Hampshire, where the state motto is still live free or die. It is not big government or bust. It is Tuesday, June the 9th, in the year of our Lord, 2015. The number that you can call this evening is 603-835-3224, should you wish to comment on anything that I am discussing tonight. And I wanted to start off the program with one particular issue, but we'll get to that. Now, there's some Rubio news for all you Rubio fans out there. You're not going to like this. I got some Clinton news for you. For all you Clinton fans out there, you're not going to like this. I got some climate change news for you as well. And for those of you who are against climate change, you're not going to like this. I know it's a show of of stuff that you're not going to like, and I'm going to start off with a story that you're not going to like. And it comes via InfoWars, and and redflagnews.com, and I'm not look, folks, this is we're treading on some dangerous ground right now in this country. Now, this type of ruling that the court is issuing is would not stand in any other nation on this planet that I know of. I don't know of another country that would do this. It doesn't make us better than everybody else out there. Au contraire, mon frère. It makes us look like a bunch of patsies, idiots, wimps, simpletons, that don't even care about our own country. And this is about a Supreme Court, what the Supreme Court does by affirming a rule that displaying the U.S. flag is disruptive. And I know some of you are out there saying, what? What do you talk? When did this come about, Rod? Where did this come from? Well, let me refresh your memories. Remember out in California, of course this kind of stuff happens out in California, where some students were ordered to either remove or turn their shirts inside out because the T-shirts that they were wearing had the depiction of the United States flag on it. And the problem was, the supposed problem is that they were wearing these prideful shirts on another nation's holiday, Cinco de Mayo, 5th of May, and that it would be disruptive to Mexicans in this country if, you know what? I don't even think the Mexicans really they don't even really get into Cinco de Mayo, not like we do. I think that's pretty interesting. We celebrate Cinco de Mayo harder than the Mexicans do, and it's a Mexican holiday. But the Supreme Court has refused to review a case concerning California school officials banning students from wearing American flag T-shirts for fear of the garments being disruptive. The Supreme Court decision was taken behind closed doors Monday. No explanation was given as to why the case of Dariano versus Morgan Hill Unified School District will not be taken further. The case stems from an incident in 2010 when students were ordered to remove U.S. flag T-shirts on the Mexican National Day, which is known here as Cinco de Mayo. Now, school officials cited concerns that such displays of patriotism in the United States would inflame racial tensions. So, such a display of national pride in your own home country would inflame racial tensions. Now, 4 students were suspended and sent home, and a blanket ban was enacted, much to the chagrin of free speech proponents. Well, yeah, you think? Now, those critics now say that the Supreme Court's decision to let stand a Ninth Circuit court ruling restricting free speech in this case affirms a troubling precedent that displays of patriotism in America can be prohibited. Indeed. When public school students can't wear the American flag on a T-shirt because it might be disruptive, then free speech as we've known it is dead, said John W. Whitehead, president of rights group the Rutherford Institute, which was involved in the original district court case. So there you have it. Our own Supreme Court not willing or wanting to hear a case having to do with free speech, pretty much, and patriotism, pretty much. You can't be a patriot in this country anymore. I guess it's bad. You know what? I think I'm going to have I think I'm going to open up a store, Rod's store. And it's all going to be patriotic designs. Stuff that I come up with, maybe. Just patriotic stuff that you can use. I mean, it'll be T-shirts and hats and stickers and, they're just good old-fashioned patriotic American symbolism, if you will. Because there isn't enough of it in my book. There needs to be more of it. Of course, it should probably have some sort of educational element to it. Now, I will look into that as well. But to have your Supreme Court, or any court, actually, decide that it's not, this sort of case is not worthy of their attention, and just unilaterally decide, well, we're just going to say that all displays of patriotism can be disruptive, and we'll just, get rid of those as we see fit. And I got to tell you, that's a dangerous precedent to be setting. Now, granted, the Supreme Court didn't really set a precedence because they didn't really rule on anything. They just decided to let whatever decision was made by whatever court to stand. And this was under the Ninth Circuit, which is the California court, or the left coast, which is full of people who don't particularly like the United States or embarrassed by the United States. And they want multiculturalism. And, they're like, well, there's a gentleman here in the Bunkerize home studio, and his name is Sam. And Sam doesn't particularly like that idea. So, just to bring this whole notion home, I want Sam just to say a couple words on this issue. Sam, just say a couple of words, because people, they're a little upset about the notion that they don't think that their kids will be able to wear the American flag and multiculturalism and all that kind of stuff. Well, I got to tell you, Rod, I agree with them. I tell you, this stuff is getting out of hand here. And we got all these people talking all kinds of foreign languages. This is America, where we speak American. We fly the American flag, Rod. And let me tell you something. We're proud of that flag. And it's not a disruptive sight to see that flag anywhere it's flying, even if it's flying across the stomachs and chests of America's children. Because they're the future of this country. And if they're not allowed to be proud of America, Rod, then we're going to lose this country. And we're never going to get it back. And I got to tell you, I have nightmares. I have American nightmares every night, Rod, when people tell me that it's a disruption to have the American flag flying, even if it's just flying across the bellies and the chest of America's children in American public schools. This is America after all. You fly the flag. What do they do, Rod? On Cinco de Mayo, do they haul up the Mexican flag? Well, this ain't Mexico, Rod. This is America, and we fly the American flag. And I cannot believe that American children cannot have the American flag flying across their chest and their belly on their T-shirts. I mean, you got Japan. Japan's able to have a Japanese flag on their chest. Yeah, China's got a red T-shirt on all their children, and we can't even fly a flag, the simple American flag. That's not American, Rod. It's un-American. And I got to tell you, this has got to change. Well, thank you, Sam. And I think you heard I can't add anything to that. Sam has got it right. He knows what's going on, and he knows that, look, this is the most idiotic type of thing one of the most idiotic things I've ever come across for a nation. It is to say that you cannot fly or have or display your own flag in your own country. Now, I would fully understand if these kids were in Mexico. And the Mexican government said, you can't, you cannot fly the American flag on Cinco de Mayo. Fine. That's their desire down in their country. Great. I get it. But to come across the border and to have Americans tell other Americans that you cannot display the American flag because some foreign students might be offended? Well, at that particular point, I'm sorry. Well, I try to be a gentleman, but the good old F-bomb might have been flying that day as well for me. And I got to tell you, you people out there who still put your kids in these public indoctrination centers that we call public schools, I don't understand it. This is starting to border on, in my book, it's starting to border on child abuse. Putting your kids in American public indoctrination centers that we call public schools is bordering on child abuse. Do you really want to send your kid to some building? I don't care how pretty the building is. You want to send your kid to some building, and inside that building, he or she is being told that, displaying and showing patriotism in their own country, in their country's flag, is disruptive in their own country. And, this goes part and parcel with, and I hold a lot of adults to this as well, because, we have a lot of these closed communities, these gated communities and these condo communities that limit or restrict or prevent people from flying the flag. And shame on you. There is nothing more beautiful than to see, the small town America. Small town America is when everybody on Main Street is flying the flag on their home. That is a beautiful sight. If you go into a gated community or a condo complex that doesn't prevent people from flying the flag, or if it's like July 4th or Flag Day, and you see all of these flags all over the place, that is a beautiful sight. It is not disruptive. It is not ugly. It is not gangly. It is absolutely freaking gorgeous. And you know what? Any other country that you go to that does the same thing with their flag, that's a beautiful sight. To have pride in one's own nation, there is nothing wrong or disruptive about that. I expect if I go to France to see the French flag all over the place. I expect it. I expect to go to Greece and see the Greek flag all over the place. I expect to go to Canada and see the Canadian flag all over the place. I expect to go to Mexico and see the Mexican flag all over the place. And there wouldn't be a person in this country who would not agree with me that even if they go to Russia or they expect to see the Russian flag. They go to China, they expect to see the Chinese flag. They go to Japan, they're going to expect to see the Japanese flag all over the place. But then you come here to the United States, and you're going to tell me that Americans are supposed to sit back and accept the fact that, we can't display the American flag all over the place. Oh, no. I'm not going to stand for that, folks. I will not say, you want to try to fine me or whatever, come get the money. You can try to get the money. You're not getting it. And if I send I don't have little children that are school age, but if I send my kid to school in a T-shirt with the American flag in it, I don't care if it's Flag Day or if it's Cinco de Mayo Day or if it's Christmas Day. That's the clothing I put on them. That's the clothing they're wearing. And if you even think about touching them, we're going to have a problem. Big, huge. And don't you dare try to tell me that some stupid-ass judge is sitting out there in California and has decided, wearing the flag, Rod, is a disruption. A disruption to whom? The only people who seem to be making it a disruption are these stupid liberal educators who are embarrassed by their own nation's flag. And that's a shame. You know what? We should just kick their butts out of it. Don't get me fired up on this. Because I swear I'll be kicking some uneducated, overly educated ass This does not stand in my book, and it's shame on the Supreme Court for passing on this. They should even have to hear arguments. All they have to do is just say, you know what, Ninth Circuit, you're a bunch of idiots. The school district, you're a bunch of asses. You can't do this. Free speech. Whatever happened to, well, it's free speech as long as it's not disruptive. Look, this is what I told you people before. When there are people out there talking about because of what happened in Texas. Remember the Texas Mohammed cartoon contest? What happened there? In America, even Republicans are starting to say, well, maybe we should, think about certain kinds of speech not being free speech. And this is the direction that the Supreme Court and other judges are now taking. Well, American people are kind of ready for censorship. And look what's happening already. I warned you this kind of stuff was going to happen, and it's only going to get worse because we, the people, are freaking stupid enough to fall for this. Rod, did you just call all the American people stupid? Well, yeah, if they're into any kind of censorship, for a speech censorship, yeah, they're stupid. People can say a lot of things and express themselves in a lot of ways that I don't like. But you know what? I'm probably going to say a lot of things that they don't like. I mean, it's an equal opportunity here. Pretty much, very equal opportunity. So, yeah, I know I'm pissing a few people off by expressing my constitutional rights. My God-given rights to express myself. Are you trying to tell me that this notion that kids who are they're not displaying some weird T-shirt. They're displaying the American flag. It reminds me of a time. Remember when? Now I just heard the other day that The Simpsons have been on the air for 27 years. 27 years. I know some people think that The Simpsons are funny, but I got to tell you, that's a little disgusting. But you know what? If they want to continue to make episodes of The Simpsons and people want to watch The Simpsons and support it, that's fine. I don't have to watch it. But I remember when 25 years ago, The Simpsons had a T-shirt, Bart Simpson. Kids could wear it to school. Touting Bart Simpson, underachiever, proud of it, number one underachiever. Did you know that at that particular time, the number one selling T-shirt was that Bart Simpson style T-shirt with underachiever on it. And the number one selling T-shirt in the nation of Japan was Japan is number one. So the number one selling T-shirt in the United States was not the USA number one. No. It was underachiever. And so now, those kids grown up and fulfilling the desires and dreams of those T-shirts, underachiever. And this is what we're getting in our schools by saying, the flag displayed on a shirt is disruptive to foreign students. If the foreign student, in my book, doesn't particularly like the display of the American flag in the United States of America, then they are more than welcome and more than free to head back to the country from whence they came. We will not hold a grudge. At least I know I won't. I will not be upset. I will say, thank you for coming. Now get the hell out. I know there are people out there who think, well, Rod, you're just, you're just anti-immigrant, Rod. You're anti-immigrant. No, I'm anti-American. How's that? So if you're anti-American, I'm anti-you. Plain and simple. There is absolutely no excuse, no reason for any of this kind of garbage. And we need to stop before. Look, this is the easy way to lose a country, folks. It doesn't take much to do it. It doesn't take much. It doesn't take much to lose your nation. All you have to do is be embarrassed of it, have a government that is willing to cover it up and to prevent you from loving it, and there you have it. The demise of the United States of America from within, because you have a bunch of people who are embarrassed by the flag in our display of patriotism because it's so disruptive for foreigners. Get out if it's disruptive to you.
Hi, I'm George Foreman. Do you have an idea for a new product or invention? People ask me all the time, George, how do I get my idea in front of companies? How do I get a patent? What do I do next? I'll tell you like I'll tell them all. Call my friends at InventHelp.
Call InventHelp today for free information. InventHelp can submit your invention to companies who are interested in receiving new ideas. Call InventHelp today.
To get your free inventor's information, call 1-800-352-1609. That's 1-800-352-1609.
If you want to work until you keel over, have less of everything in retirement, or give back more of your hard-earned money to the stock market again, then just ignore me. But if you'd like to protect the money you save, receive a steady, predictable retirement income, and enjoy financial security for as long as you live, then listen to this. You can download a free report that reveals the wealth-building secrets Wall Street and the banks don't want you to know. You'll learn how you can get guaranteed growth, safety, and real prosperity without risking your money in the Wall Street casino, and how to get the money you need when you need it, simply by asking for it. This is the best way to have a 100% secure retirement and know your money will last as long as you do. To learn more about this method and to get your free report, go to 52security.com. That's the number 52security.com. 52security.com. Go to 52security.com.
Hurt or injured in a car accident? It can be hard to take the proper legal action after a car accident, but waiting can cost you more. The law requires car accident victims to assert claims promptly. You could lose out by simply waiting. Call 800-709-4667 right now to see what your claim could be worth when handled by a skilled attorney. With a lawyer fighting and speaking up for you, you could be entitled to a big cash award. Call 800-709-4667. That's 800-709-4667. Now it's fast and easy to connect with the legal help you need after your car accident. Call 800-709-4667. The call is free, but you need to act now before time runs out on your claim. You need a lawyer to fight for you, protect you, and get you the compensation you need and deserve. Time's wasting. Call 800-709-4667. That's 800-709-4667. Call now.
I considered suicide so I wouldn't put my family through all the pain.
Many of our warriors are returning home from the battlefield, only to face a new war as they struggle with devastating injuries. At Wounded Warrior Project, we understand. We're there to help.
Even though you think you're broken, you're not. It's the physical and the emotional healing that Wounded Warrior Project provides.
With a gift of just $19 a month, you can join Wounded Warrior Project. You'll help provide critically needed programs and services that rebuild lives.
Beautiful. There you go, buddy.
The ongoing needs of our wounded and their families will continue for many years to come. Now is the time to show your support. Call now or go online with your gift of just $19 a month, and we'll send you this Wounded Warrior Project blanket.
It made me feel that there's people out there that care about us.
After this event, we can finally maybe start to heal as a family and move forward.
We need your help. The families are hurting.
For many of our wounded heroes, the greatest casualty is being forgotten. That's why your gift of just $19 a month is so important. Please call or go online right now.
You shouldn't have to pay to talk to the people closest to you, or the people who used to be. That's why Umbrella Wireless is proud to announce the new Friends, Family, and Recent Ex-Girlfriend plan. Now you'll get unlimited calls to your best buddy, your mom, or Cindy, once she realizes that you're seriously meant for each other and should stop screening your calls. Now the 30 minutes of agonizing silence where you're both afraid to hang up may your battery, but it won't drain your wallet. And you'll get unlimited calls just to check if she still cares enough to pick up, with no extra charges. With the Friends, Family, and Recent Ex-Girlfriend plan, your phone will automatically answer calls from your ex, because maybe she finally realizes that you're the only one for her and wants to get coffee sometime. Now, after lonely nights of looking at pictures of the road trip you took together when everything was great, your misspelled texts are absolutely free. The only thing you have to pay for is the booze. The Friends, Family, and Recent Ex-Girlfriend plan, because she wants you back. She just doesn't know it yet.
You're listening to The Rod Eccles Show.
Now on to some news for Rubio. Marco Rubio, the Republican Floridian who is running for president on the GOP ticket, is hitting back, striking back. Look, you know, I'm thinking that this guy is not going to be like your typical Republican of the recent past that didn't really respond to stupid leftist, hypocritical leftist, liberal, lamestream media garbageola. Now, Rubio's campaign has hit back at the New York Times story, claiming that the Florida senator's personal financial habits have been imprudent and at times extravagant. Now, at first thought, I'm thinking, wait a minute. They're going to pick apart Marco Rubio's modest income and finances and say sometimes his spending habits have been imprudent and extravagant. What are you going to say about the Clintons then? Let's, I'm just saying, can't let the Clintons go, but, hey, Rubio's not rich, by the way. So that's the problem with the New York Times. He's not a millionaire. So how are we going to get him on the money stuff? First, the New York Times attacks Marco over traffic tickets. Yeah, he got 4. His wife got the bulk of them, but he got 4 over like 17 years or something like that, 15 years. I think I've had, over the past 15 years, maybe, I haven't had moving violations. I've done, no speeding tickets. No speeding. I've had things where I've forgotten to, my inspection sticker in my car has expired, and literally there have been times, a year that I just forgot. I wasn't even paying attention to it. And, the trooper who pulled me over was very nice. And there was another time where I got a ticket for not having a sticker on it. And it was because in this state, you have, when you first register a new vehicle, whether the vehicle is new or used, you have a 10-day period in order to get that car inspected. And I was within that 10-day window, and the town officer still decided to give me a ticket anyway. And I didn't fight it. It was like a $50 or $60 ticket at the time. I'm like, it's going to cost me more to go fight it than anything. And the hindsight is I probably should have fought it because the reason why the state trooper gave me a ticket for that because I was lapsed. Because he said, well, you already had one. I have to give you. And I said, guess I should have fought it. And I explained it to him and where I got it. And he literally slapped his forehead and rolled his eyes. And he goes, I'm sorry. If I would have known, I wouldn't. So there's an issue with that particular town anyway, I suppose. But, it maybe you change lanes without signaling. It laps sometimes, and that's a ticketable offense, right there. The way our traffic laws are written in most states, that you can get a ticket for that. Changing lanes without signaling. In some communities, maybe the music is coming out of your car is too loud. You can get a ticket for that. You can get caught in a speed trap. By the way, there are, plenty of speed traps here in the state of New Hampshire. Because in most places, in New Hampshire, if there's a significant change in speed, like a significant drop, it will tell you ahead of time. There'll be signs like, if you're going from a 65 to a 45, it'll say, before you hit the 45 mile per hour zone, it'll tell you, you'll see signs that say, speed limit 45 miles per hour up ahead. And so you can make adjustments. Well, there are some places that I know of near me that make a sneaky change. In an area that if you're not familiar with it, you wouldn't expect the change to go from 45 to 30. That's a speed trap zone. And towns do that all over the country. Because people that, they get used to one thing and it looks like they're in the same area. There's no reason for it to change. And all of a sudden, boom. Oh, what? Huh? There's change? And, I know people. I've been in the car and people have gotten pulled over and the cop says, "You know how fast you're going?" And they'll say, "Well, yeah, I was, doing like 45 speed limit." No. And sometimes the cops are nice and sometimes they're kind of belligerent. No, the speed limit's 30. And people are like, since when and where? And, it's happened more than once. So it's kind of easy in this country, especially when they're out to get speed traps. I mean, and look, Charles Barkley, I remember a few years ago, Charles Barkley was in a speed trap, and was it out in Arizona, where they have cameras that catch speeders and take a picture of you and send you the ticket. In an area, no cops around. In an area that people just aren't really paying attention to their speed, and boom, a few days later you're getting a ticket in the mail, and you're wondering, what the heck is this? And it shows that you're behind the wheel driving the car, and it says what your speed was, and it issues your fine, and all you have to do is pay it. And it was, I'm not sure if that's was actually upheld and is still legal, but it was snaring a lot of people. And it was a revenue. It looks a lot of times speeding, traffic traps are revenue generating for the municipality that's setting them up. Now, make no mistake about it, to go from 45 to 30 on a roadway that is designed for actually 55, and there's no change, no reason for a change, there's only one reason for it. And that's to collect revenue. And, hey, they do it here in the Granite State. They do it all over the country. But the whole point is that Rubio here, over traffic tickets for him, and now they think he doesn't have enough money. Well, it's none of their business whether or not he has enough money, any more than they tell us, well, it's none of our business how much money that the Clintons have. Really? Well, how do they get the money? But Rubio spokesman Alex Conant, according to USA Today, of course, if he were worth millions, the Times would then attack him for being too rich, much like they did to Mitt Romney. Yeah, remember that when they attacked Romney for being too rich? Now the Clintons have gone basically from, dead broke from the White House to being extremely wealthy. What does Bill get for a single speech now? $500,000. By the way, I'm out on this summer on a speaking tour. Now I don't charge $500,000 for giving a speech. I don't charge six figures. I don't even charge five figures for a speech. Really? So, if you want me to speak at your group, your event, it doesn't matter the size. It could be 10 people, 100 people, or 1,000 people, or if you can manage to get 50,000 people, then we'll talk. But yeah, I'll rock the house if you have 50,000 people. I will rock it. Trust me on that. We will go to political conservative church. I will rock your house if you bring me in. Just saying. There's a simple plug. And yeah, I'll even bring Sam. That's right. I'll bring Sam. Hey, Sam, would you go and speak with me if I go out there? If I go out to, I don't know, it's some sports arena, say out in, Arizona or Kentucky or someplace. Well, of course I would, Rod. It would be an honor. I'd be out there with you. I'd be speaking American, not that Spaniard stuff that some of these people around here talk. I'll talk in American. So, yeah, just, you can go to my website and get the information if you want me to actually come out and speak to your organization. And it's a good time. Like this Thursday, I will be out in Easton, Massachusetts, giving a keynote message out there. And again, that information and time and everything is on rodeccles.net. So just go over to and check the the events page. I think it's the events page, and you can see some other booked events. Working to add more as we speak. There are some in the works. So there will be more all over the place. So we'll see. But back to Rubio. Tuesday's story by the Times headline: struggles with finances track Marco Rubio's career. It said that Rubio stands out not only for his youth and dramatic political rise, but also for persistent doubts about his personal financial management. Now, a review of Rubio's family finances, including many new documents, reveals a series of decisions over the past 15 years that experts called imprudent. Significant debts, a penchant to spend heavily on luxury items like the $80,000 speedboat and the lease of a $50,000 2015 Audi Q7, a strikingly low savings rate, even when Mr. Rubio was earning large sums in inattentive accounting that led to years of unpaid local government fees. Whoa. So, Mr. Rubio is a bad guy for buying a speedboat and paying for it with his own money and leasing a 2015 Audi Q7. And having a low savings rate. Well, he's got to pay for the speedboat and Audi Q7. Besides, he's a senator. He doesn't got to save for retirement, right? And unpaid local government fees. Oh, you mean like, I don't know, Tim Geithner not paying taxes, like Al Sharpton not paying taxes and owing the IRS money? Yeah, okay. I think those government fees do not add up to $4 million like Al Sharpton. Anyone? Don't see the New York Times thumping Al Sharpton for owing as much as $4 million in back taxes. Don't see the New York Times thumping the Clintons for their spending or their need for such large sums of cash, as in $500,000 for a speech. But you know what? You can't blame Bill. If there are people out there willing to pay him $500,000, more power to him. I'd do it. Yeah, why not? If somebody's willing to pay me $500,000 for giving a 20 to 40 minute speech, why should I say no? Look, I don't blame them for it, but at the same time, do not sit out there and preach to us about how Mr. Rubio, spends imprudently, or about this rich person does that or got his money this way, when you've got your own people earning questionable sums in a questionable manner. Plain and simple. You can't win this argument, New York Times. I don't know why you even tried to open. It's going to end up hurting Hillary, especially with Rubio, because he's not going to put up, with this kind of stuff. Now, the Times also said that separate to his personal spending patterns, there were instances in which he intermingled personal and political money. Oh, you mean like the Clintons did? This is the same thing and same tactic that they tried to pull on Mitt Romney. Remember that? This is the same thing, although with Romney it was, due to much more money. But this is the same kind of garbage that the New York Times tried to pull on Romney. And Romney didn't really fire back, but the Rubio camp is firing back. Good to see. He needs to put them in their place. Now, this is also from Market Watch. That he spent, chastising it. One luxury item it was cited for an $80,000 speedboat. I guess that's a luxury item, but if you're making $200,000 a year or more, maybe $80,000 for a boat is not so imprudent. You can probably afford the payments on it. You're not spending $80,000 all at once. You're probably putting down a significant chunk, and then you're making payments over time. And you could probably, over 10 or 15 years, you could probably afford those payments. A lot of people probably could. It wouldn't be any difference. Now, the Times said that the issue of how Senator managed his finances caused such doubt that it was flagged by Mitt Romney's presidential campaign when Rubio was vetted as a possible Romney running mate back in 2012. Now, the Times reviewed the Rubio family's finances and found decisions it said experts called imprudent. Now, Rubio's team basically responded by calling the newspaper arrogant for describing student debt as a deep financial hole of his making. First, the New York Times attacked Marco over traffic tickets, and now they think he doesn't have enough money. Of course, if he was worth millions, New York Times would then attack him for being too rich, much like they did to Mitt Romney. So said a spokesman in an email. Wall Street Democrats and some independents are getting increasingly nervous that Hillary Clinton will tack to the left in her campaign for the White House. Their fear, Politico writes, is that Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders and former Maryland Governor Martin O'Malley in the race, Clinton could be pushed to take a tougher stance on financial reform issues in ways that could make their lives uncomfortable. She's not being pushed anywhere. She's not being pushed anywhere, by the way. She's firmly, a radical leftist, much like Obama. Except she has more money than Obama. And that's okay. Rubio doesn't have the kind of money that the Clintons have, and that's, not okay. Because what little money that he may have, he's got to be, he should have spent it in the manner in which the New York Times thinks he should have spent it. And not buying a speedboat. Oh, that's just imprudent. Buying a speedboat. As if it's any of their business. But, Clinton being in that stupid van, the Scooby van, and then to end the Scooby van tour, she doesn't stay in the Scooby van. She flies first class back home to New York. But that's not imprudent. Not at all. I guess it just means that, if your husband earns $500,000 per speech, then whatever you're worth a lot of money. So I guess anything you do then is not imprudent, right? I don't know. I'm just putting this stuff out there for you folks. You can do with it as you please. But just remember that Rubio is not the wealthy one. I don't he's comfortable, but I don't think he's out there, running up debts that he cannot pay. That would be Democrats anyway. Let's face it, they're the ones who, look at the deficit. Bills that they cannot pay. They also do bills that they want everybody else to pay, not them. But here's something else, too. Tax-exempt groups give hopefuls boost. Several presidential hopefuls are getting help from allied tax-exempt nonprofit groups that have anonymous donors. Anonymous donors. But, hey, the Citizens United thing, you got to get rid of Citizens United because, they're not anonymous. The Wall Street Journal writes, a trend that experts say could pump hundreds of millions of dollars into the 2016 race for the White House. The tax-exempt entities are already doing work on policy development and voter research, as well as hiring and deploying staff for a half dozen aligned campaigns, the Journal says. The presidential hopefuls benefiting from these groups include Jeb Bush, Marco Rubio, Rick Santorum, and Bobby Jindal. The Bush-aligned group recently hired several policy and communications aides, suggesting it could become a place to build a campaign staff until Bush declares his candidacy. And senators want China out of the currency club. Well, we're not even going to get into that. That's China has their own agenda when it comes to currency manipulation. And the United States is not in that plan, by the way. The United States, they want the United States out of that plan. Today, just a little side note. I have no idea why I just thought of this, but I just wanted to relay something to you. Today I was told that there was a, who was it? I don't know. I guess there's a cartoon character that Samuel L. Jackson did. And now I can't remember who it was. But evidently I sound like Samuel L. Jackson doing a cartoon voice. I don't know if that was flattering or not. I don't know. Could have been. But, I don't know. Could have been flattering. Hey, speaking of finances, did you know about Hillary having a nice and wonderful fundraiser? I love how these people all take on these fundraiser stuff, and they say how that Clinton wants to be she wants to be the champion, if you will, for the American people, the average American person, I guess. And you have to ask, well, what does that mean exactly for the average person? Well, she wants to be a champion for the average person. So that means that she's got to pay attention to what the average person in Washington, D.C., an LGBT fundraiser put on by a bunch of lesbians. And Hillary, she was in Washington for the fundraiser, and it was attended predominantly by lesbian supporters. Now, when you hear how much they paid per plate, you're going to ask, well, how is that an average person's, champion? I got to say it's not.
I'm just so happy my father had a chance to see his kids before he passed. I just want to say thank you.
When her father fell ill, the American Red Cross was able to help get Veronica's brother home from the Navy to speak to his father one last time. It's thanks to your donations that we can connect military families when they need it most. Please donate today at redcross.org.
If you want to work until you keel over, have less of everything in retirement, or give back more of your hard-earned money to the stock market again, then just ignore me. But if you'd like to protect the money you save, receive a steady, predictable retirement income, and enjoy financial security for as long as you live, then listen to this. You can download a free report that reveals the wealth-building secrets Wall Street and the banks don't want you to know. You'll learn how you can get guaranteed growth, safety, and real prosperity without risking your money in the Wall Street casino, and how to get the money you need when you need it, simply by asking for it. This is the best way to have a 100% secure retirement, and know your money will last as long as you do. To learn more about this method, and to get your free report, go to 52security.com. That's the number 52security.com. 52security.com. Go to 52security.com.
Hurt or injured in a car accident? It can be hard to take the proper legal action after a car accident, but waiting can cost you more. The law requires car accident victims to assert claims promptly. You could lose out by simply waiting. Call 800-709-4667 right now to see what your claim could be worth when handled by a skilled attorney. With a lawyer fighting and speaking up for you, you could be entitled to a big cash award. Call 800-709-4667. That's 800-709-4667. Now it's fast and easy to connect with the legal help you need after your car accident. Call 800-709-4667. The call is free, but you need to act now before time runs out on your claim. You need a lawyer to fight for you, protect you, and get you the compensation you need and deserve. Time's wasting. Call 800-709-4667. That's 800-709-4667. Call now.
I considered suicide so I wouldn't put my family through all the pain.
Many of our warriors are returning home from the battlefield, only to face a new war as they struggle with devastating injuries. At Wounded Warrior Project, we understand. We're there to help.
Even though you think you're broken, you're not. It's the physical and the emotional healing that Wounded Warrior Project provides.
With a gift of just $19 a month, you can join Wounded Warrior Project. You'll help provide. Now is the time to show your support. Call now or go online with your gift of just $19 a month, and we'll send you this Wounded Warrior Project blanket.
It made me feel that there's people out there that care about us.
After this event, we can finally maybe start to heal as a family and move forward.
We need your help. The families are hurting.
For many of our wounded heroes, the greatest casualty is being forgotten. That's why your gift of just $19 a month is so important. Please call or go online right now.
The following letters were written by our troops.
My dear fellow Americans, I truly appreciate your support. I was starting to wonder if people had forgotten about us over here, but then one of my buddies showed me this website, and now as tears are streaming down my face, I can see for sure that you haven't. Private Emily B., U.S. Army.
It's so heartwarming to see the American people not letting the men and women of the armed forces be forgotten. Your letters make a group of grown men, battle-hardened and gruff, Act like a bunch of kids around a Christmas tree. Thanks. Staff Sergeant Matthew H., U.S. Army.
Your support may be the most important thing our troops can carry with them. But don't take our word for it. Take theirs. To show your support, visit americasupportsyou.mil. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Defense and the Ad Council.
Millions of Americans every day are shedding unwanted pounds by taking tested and proven Ultra Lipo Stick. Carbohydrates are bad. Our carbo-fighting antioxidant is good. Just listen to these satisfied customers.
My name is Gail, and I lost like 20 pounds on Ultra Lipo Stick.
My name is Jared, and I lost 46 pounds using Ultra Lipo Stick.
My name is Zach, and I actually gained weight. This stuff sucks!
Ultra Lipo Stick is safe and easy to inject. Just 3 doses 4 times a day discreetly underneath your fingernail. Listen to this.
I used Ultra Lipo Stick and suffered from side effects like uncontrollable greasy discharge.
Ultra Lipo Stick, it turned the armpits of all of my shirts orange. This stuff is crap.
Try it today and see some real results. Ultra Lipo Stick. Not available in stores. Results may vary.
Zinc Media. Feel the power of knowledge.
Most politically incorrect black man on the planet, Rod Eccles.
Hillary. She was out there with her fundraising down in D.C. last night. It was a lesbian affair. Well, I shouldn't say affair. People will get the wrong impression. It was a lesbian event. And about 120 people were expected to attend the event. They didn't have the actual final numbers because, it was probably less than 120. They didn't want to, make it look like it was they didn't meet their goal. But it was billed as an intimate fundraiser at a woman's National Democratic Club. Well, woman's lesbian club, more like it. Now, wait till you hear what it costs to attend. If you wanted to attend, it was going to cost you $2,700 per person. So a dinner for $2,700. I hope that was some good filet mignon. Now, for the more generous, those willing to bundle $27,000 ahead of the event also get to attend a special reception with Hillary Clinton. So if you bundle $27,000, you get special inside. You're buying access again. Isn't that the way it works? With the Clintons, you buy access. Hey, foreign governments and foreign dignitaries, they bought access and influence. So I guess, if you can put together $27,000, bundle together $27,000 to give to Hillary Clinton for her campaign, then you can that'll buy you some access as well. Hey, she knows how to do that. She knows how to get people to pay her for access. Not to mention, I don't know how many people can actually afford a $2,700 per plate dinner. So if it's a couple, you're talking $5,400. Right then and there, $5,400 for a dinner for two. What a date! Hello, my fellow Americans. It is I, your lovable host, Rod, coming to you live from my bunkerized home studio somewhere within the great granite state of New Hampshire, where the state motto is still live free or die. It is not big government or bust. It is, and yes, I checked again today. It is Tuesday, June the 9th in the year of our Lord 2015, as we march along into this week in the month of June. Now, today, we had some thunder. Well, I don't know. I guess there were some thunderstorms rolling across the area, but we got some more rain that was much needed. Now, if we're up to Hillary, I'm sure that we would have had, in order to get significant rain, we're going to need to bundle significant amounts of cash for her. Now, there's a story here that was breaking on CNN earlier today, and it had to do with Hillary Clinton, by the way. And it was kind of an interesting premise, but CNN of all places. But they have a point, and the point is that Hillary Clinton's real Libya problem. She's got more than just what most people think is the Libyan problem. With the the emails and things like that, it goes much further, much deeper than that. And this is why I say that the woman does not deserve the Democratic nomination for President of the United States. Hillary Clinton has another Libya problem. She's already grappling with the political headaches from deleted emails and from the terror attack that left 4 Americans dead in Benghazi. But there's something else. There's a broader challenge. And this is, I'm sorry, folks, I just did a Marco Rubio and had a drink of water. Here, listen, I'll have another. Because that's water. Because sometimes, your mouth gets a little dry when you're talking. And speaking of which, if you would like to talk sometimes, the number here is toll free at 603-835-3224. But sometimes your mouth gets a little bit dry. I know some people send me emails sometimes. Why do you say all these weird on, off the wall things? Because, one, it makes the conversation more interesting. 2, because it just goes to show that my mind is not linear. I have many thoughts at the same time. And 3, simply because I can. And that's probably the most important reason, is simply because I can. And I can because it's my show. I always love how people always try to get their hands around somebody else's product or service and try to dictate how they should run their product or service. You can give advice. I can always, look at a particular business and say, well, the way you're doing it's kind of foolish, but, hey, if you want to make money, then you probably should listen to people who know better, but, it's your business. Go about your own business. I'm not going to be mad at you. But it's amazing how sometimes people will get mad at you for not taking their input. And it's not just, the whole notion of being ignored sometimes. I get that. How people can be upset. I'm talking about these people who get so upset at the tiniest little thing, and you don't do something to please them right away. Like, somebody would probably say, well, you shouldn't drink water on the air. And I'll say, well, I'm going to drink water again. In fact, I'm going to drink water again. Hold on. Pure water. Now, I just pissed somebody off for doing that. It's amazing. These are people who want to micromanage your life. They're Democrats, and they're usually Democrats and usually liberal idiots. And they just want to micromanage everything in your life. And you just want to tell them, go away. Somebody should invent a new Raid product. Raid, kills roaches dead. We should have, you have DEET and stuff for mosquito. We should have liberal repellent. If you can come up with a liberal repellent, you will your company will be bigger than Apple. I'm just telling you. And you'll be on the New York Times hit list for being too rich. You'll be on the Democrats hit list for being too wealthy. You'll be on the Democrat hit list, the liberal hit list for probably having a monopoly. And they're going to want to break your company up, and you'll probably have the anti-liberal repellent, and then you might have the communist repellent, and then you might have the socialist repellent, and they're going to want to break your company up into the three different factions of your company because you're too big. You're too big. We got to break up these banks. We got to break up this repellent company. They're too big. All they have is they have the lions. They have 90% of the repellent market. That's too big. They're a monopoly. Just saying. But that is true of liberals. They will be the first to get upset with you. And they will get really upset with you when you don't even take even the smallest and most minute of advice to heart and actually utilize it. I've seen it time and time again. And, I've seen belligerent people time and time again. Hey, and what really smokes some people is when you tell them you don't need them. Ooh, that really, especially a liberal man. Oh my goodness, you want to see them go off the deep end and flip out on you? Oh, wow. You didn't build that. You need help. You had to have everybody's help to be. You say, no, I don't need you to be in my business, to help me with my business, to be around my bit, to do anything. I don't need you. Goodbye, be gone. And they will flip out on you. I'm telling you, try it sometimes. If you have a liberal that's bugging you, in your business or in your work, your career, what have you, just try it one day and say you don't, and be sincere that you don't need them, and watch them flip out on you. Because that is like kryptonite to a liberal. He doesn't need me. Yes, he does. He does need me. He needs me. And they all need me. They all need us. They need us liberals because we know what's best. They can't say they don't need us because they didn't build that. They need us. They need. And they'll probably try to pass laws, to force you to need them, much like Obamacare. Just saying. Just so you know ahead of time. But yeah, just tell a liberal that you do, sincerely, you do not need them. If you have a liberal boss, just walk into his office, one day after he's been belligerent to you or something, and just say, you know what? I don't need you, and I don't need this job. Because you know what, folks? You don't. You can get another job. But the economy, no. If you're worth anything, you don't have to worry about it. Because if you're worth anything, even in a bad economy, other businesses will recognize your worth and snatch you up. May not be things that you like, but you have other opportunities out there available to you. You can even start your own thing. That's right, I said thing. Start your own thing. You could go on tour. Gabriel Iglesias is a prime example of success in this country. And I know some people are saying, how the hell does he go from Hillary Clinton to Gabriel Iglesias, an international comedian? Well, you don't think that Hillary Clinton's a comedian? She's not a funny one, but she is one. So it kind of goes hand in hand. But Gabriel, the Fluffy, for some people who don't know him by his first name, Gabriel, Fluffy, or in the Middle East, his name is pronounced Jibril. Yeah, I saw that. So I think he's hilarious. Especially the stuff where he gets pulled over by police officers. Isn't that right, Sam? Yeah, that's right. I gotta tell you, he's the funniest thing when you pull over somebody. Because I was a cop. I was a traffic cop. I was a cop. I saw all this stuff. I saw it. And that's why I say you gotta speak American. And if you make me laugh, I could work with it then. Just make me laugh. And so Sam gets it. But Gabriel is just hilarious. But he started out at the bottom like everybody else does in every career. And he had to work his way up. He used his talent to work his way up, and people recognized it, and they started to promote him, and he started getting bigger and bigger venues, and then now he's a internationally known comedian, and he's got my attention. I think he's hilarious. I think I've seen all his taped televised specials. Man's hilarious. He's like a clean Richard Pryor. Now, Richard Pryor. I mean, he had kind of a foul mouth for 70s and 80s, but let me tell you, Richard Pryor was hilarious. No, let me put that in colloquial terms. Man was funny, yo. He was hilarious. And laughter is a good thing, except when you're laughing at your political candidates. It's good to laugh at clowns, but not when those clowns are your politicians and your leaders. And we don't want to have to laugh at them, because then the joke is on us, pretty much. So Hillary's Libya problem. She's got a broader... Now, this isn't funny, but it is funny. Because it bleeds over into Obama, and she's trying to separate herself or distance herself from Obama's strategy and lack of policy and what have you. But it's going to come back, and this is where, Republicans should be, snapping at her heels and biting her in the butt. I probably shouldn't have said that, because some people are going to think, oh, that is just so sexist. Rod is being just perverted, biting Hillary in the butt. What's the matter with you? Yeah. We're not going to go there. But she'll face a broader challenge in what's become of the North African country since as Secretary of State in 2011. She was a public face of the U.S. intervention, they're calling it, to push out its longtime strongman, Muammar Gaddafi. Now, Libya's lapse into the chaos of failed statehood has provided a breeding ground for terror and a haven for groups such as ISIS. So they went in there without now the president's saying, well, we don't have a strategy for ISIS in Iraq, or ISIL in Iraq. We don't have one. And they didn't have a strategy in Libya either. They don't have a real Middle East strategy. They just don't have one. They don't have one that's working. They don't have one that even resembles a real strategy. So she's going to be out on the campaign trail, and she's going to get involved. If she's the nominee, she's going to get hammered with this, rightfully so, by any and all Republican candidates. They should be hammering her on, because they talk about, last week I had Neil from the Ted Cruz camp on this program, and he talked about Ted Cruz having real foreign policy experience. But I got to tell you, anybody in the in the Republican field right now has a better handle on foreign policy than Hillary Clinton. This woman just doesn't get it. Well, maybe she does, but she's not all that. Somebody told me, I said, well, Hillary's pretty smart. They said, no, I disagree. I said, what do you mean? And he said, yeah, she's one of the dumbest people you'll ever run across. I said, well, you may, if you're talking raw intelligence, that might be so, but she's pretty smart and savvy politically. And he said, no, she's not, Rod. The woman is a joke. Yeah, hey, joke, comedian. I said, okay, explain yourself, Lucy. And he proceeded to go down this list. And I said, well, yeah, and you consider it that way, but she's still able to get by it all. Yeah, she's got this Benghazi problem. She's got this Libya problem. She's got the Russian reset problem. She's got the email problem. She's got, the Clinton Foundation problem. She's got the China problem. She's got all kinds, the Afghanistan problem. She's got all kinds of problems that could be associated with her while she and was Secretary of State and with Obama, but somehow that isn't affecting her. So that means that she's savvy enough. And he's like, no, that doesn't mean that she's savvy. It means that her husband is savvy. I said, well, yeah, Bill is savvy. And it means that the Democrats don't have any other candidates, so they put all their hope in her. Well, that wasn't savvy of the Democrats then, was it? He's like, no. And, as it stands right now, unless she does become savvy, and she could become very savvy by hiring, the best campaign people, but and paying them very well, it's hard. You would be hard pressed to envision, January 2017, Madam President-elect taking the oath of office. I don't see it. I'm not saying it's not possible, and I'm not saying it's not plausible. It is not likely, but in love, war, and politics, anything is possible. Which is why you have to be on your toes with her all the time. You can't let her skate. Look, this woman should have to answer for her policy blunders, like Libya. She should have to answer for her policy blunders like Egypt. She should have to answer for her policy blunders like Iraq and Iran, in Russia, in China. You can't let her off the hook on this stuff. And I don't think that anybody in the Republican side is going to let all this stuff lapse, because they just Obama and well, not just Obama, but the French also helped, but they destroyed a nation with no plan of rebuilding it, and that was Libya. They took out a government, a regime that was stable there. It was, you could say what you want about Muammar Gaddafi. You can even, he wasn't a fan of mine, but, I should say I wasn't a fan of his, but you know what? It was a stable country. And now it's not. And, we've seen what happens when you destabilize a country. Well, we had our embassy back there. Well, big deal. We lost 4 people, 4 Americans. I mean, do you really think that was worth it? Do you think all the chaos that came after was worth it? I really got to say, no, it wasn't. But well, you could say that it was, but I don't think it was. Wasn't worth it in my book. So, but she's got some splaining to do. But only because the lamestream media, well, CNN is bringing this up. So, hey, Republicans, you should pay attention. If CNN is bringing this up, then you know that you've got an obligation and a duty to bring this up constantly on her to get some answers. Force her to answer you. That's what you do when you're in a campaign for president.
Hi, I'm George Foreman. Do you have an idea for a new product or invention? People ask me all the time, George, how do I get my idea in front of companies? How do I get a patent? What do I do next? I'll tell you like I'll tell them all. Call my friends at InventHelp.
Call InventHelp today for free information. InventHelp can submit your invention to companies who are interested in receiving new ideas. Call InventHelp today.
To get your free inventor's information, call 1-800-352-1609. That's 1-800-352-1609.
If you want to work until you keel over, have less of everything in retirement, or give back more of your hard-earned money to the stock market again, then just ignore me. But if you'd like to protect the money you save, receive a steady, predictable retirement income, and enjoy financial security for as long as you live, then listen to this. You can download a free report that reveals the wealth-building secrets Wall Street and the banks don't want you to know. You'll learn how you can get guaranteed growth, safety, and real prosperity without risking your money in the Wall Street casino, and how to get the money you need when you need it, simply by asking for it. This is the best way to have a 100% secure retirement, and know your money will last as long as you do. To learn more about this method, and to get your free report, go to 52security.com. That's the number 52security.com. 52security.com. Go to 52security.com.
Hurt or injured in a car accident? It can be hard to take the proper legal action after a car accident, but waiting can cost you more. The law requires car accident victims to assert claims promptly. You could lose out by simply waiting. Call 800-709-4667 right now to see what your claim could be worth when handled by a skilled attorney. With a lawyer fighting and speaking up for you, you could be entitled to a big cash award. Call 800-709-4667. That's 800-709-4667. Now it's fast and easy to connect with the legal help you need after your car accident. Call 800-709-4667. The call is free, but you need to act now before time runs out on your claim. You need a lawyer to fight for you, protect you, and get you the compensation you need and deserve. Time's wasting. Call 800-709-4667. That's 800-709-4667. Call now.
I considered suicide so I wouldn't put my family through all the pain.
Many of our warriors are returning home from the battlefield, only to face a new war as they struggle with devastating injuries. At Wounded Warrior Project, we understand. We're there to help.
Even though you think you're broken, you're not. It's the physical and the emotional healing that Wounded Warrior Project provides.
With a gift of just $19 a month, you can join Wounded Warrior Project. You'll help provide critically needed programs and services that rebuild lives.
Beautiful. There you go, buddy.
The ongoing needs of our wounded and their families will continue for many years to come. Now is the time to show your support. Call now or go online with your gift of just $19 a month, and we'll send you this Wounded Warrior Project blanket.
It made me feel that there's people out there that care about us.
After this event, we can finally maybe start to heal as a family and move forward.
We need your help. The families are hurting.
For many of our wounded heroes, the greatest casualty is being forgotten. That's why your gift of just $19 a month is so important. Please call or go online right now.
You shouldn't have to pay to talk to the people closest to you, or the people who used to be. That's why Umbrella Wireless is proud to announce the new Friends, Family, and Recent Ex-Girlfriend plan. Now you'll get unlimited calls to your best buddy, your mom, or Cindy, once she realizes that you're seriously meant for each other and should stop screening your calls. Now the 30 minutes of agonizing silence where you're both afraid to hang up may drain your battery, but it won't drain your wallet. And you'll get unlimited calls just to check if she still cares enough to pick up, with no extra charges. With the Friends, Family, and Recent Ex-Girlfriend plan, your phone will automatically answer calls from your ex, because maybe she finally realizes that you're the only one for her and wants to get coffee sometime. Now, after lonely nights of looking at pictures of the road trip you took together when everything was great, your misspelled texts are absolutely free. The only thing you have to pay for is the booze. The Friends, Family, and Recent Ex-Girlfriend plan, because she wants you back. She just doesn't know it yet.
Rod Eccles.
And we are back for the final segment of this program, this episode, if you will, of the Rod Eccles Show. I hope if you haven't seen Game of Thrones, you better see it tonight, because tomorrow I'm going to talk about it. Tomorrow I am going to talk about Game of Thrones. Latest episode. How it rolls into what we're doing here in our wonderful government, in our electoral system. And you better be up on your game. You better be up on your game, Game of Thrones, because I'm going to talk. You know who else likes Game of Thrones? Sam, you like Game of Thrones? I gotta tell you, Rod, yes, I love that show. There's nothing more American than Game of Thrones. Sam, that's actually a British show. Well, they speak American, right? Well, so it's an American show because those Brits speak American. Well, actually, Sam, they speak English. Well, that's American. So anytime a show speaks American, I can get behind it 155%. Okay, so Sam will be listening in tomorrow, with me talking about Game of Thrones. So you better watch it tonight if you have not seen the latest episode. What do they call? Are they calling it EPs? No, I don't. They shorten everything nowadays. EPs or something, I don't know. But anyway, I will bring it full circle, obviously, and relate it to what is going on in the United States political realm. And you're just gonna have to be here to listen to it. It'll be brilliant as usual. Of course. The Obama administration has a little bit to do with Game of Thrones here, because Game of Thrones is what? It was before the Industrial Revolution. Listen, this season, where if you haven't, if you've been paying attention, if you didn't know before, but it revealed a little bit about how old the kingdom is. I mean, this season is telling us that Jon Snow is the 998th Lord Commander of Castle Black. So the wall has been there for many moons, and it's and they talked about, that other characters talked about, the age and, some 6,000 years and in an ancient city that was, thousands of years before this current age and that kind of stuff. And it's really quite fascinating to try to figure out how old all of that stuff is, but I don't, I don't exactly know how old the kingdoms are, the realm is for them, but it's kind of like not Game of Thrones, but Lord of the Rings. Because now they're ushering in the third age, and of course, they've been around for 1,000 years or so. The elves have been around much longer before then. Unfortunately, not a lot has changed over those years, those many, many, many years. But it's pretty much like human history. There wasn't a lot of huge advancement over eons and eons, and actually, you could argue the fact that we went backwards a couple of times in human history, because we had the ancient, very smart ancient known civilizations of ancient Greece and Egypt, with their fantastic mathematics and science and architecture, and then we went backwards, and then we ended up with the Roman Empire, and then we went really far backwards with them, and then of course we've had there are the Asian dynasties, which were pretty advanced on occasion, but it's hard to say that there were a lot of advancements that we know are considered to be advancements, because there weren't a lot for eons, for millennia. And then we get these advancements, and along with these advancements, we start getting these people that are starting to say, well, we shouldn't have done these advancements because now we're polluting the planet. And part of the thing is that we have this is from the Hill. The court rejects challenge to Obama climate rule. In other words, the court is now giving Obama pretty much carte blanche. Any administration, carte blanche, to do whatever they want. A federal appeals court on Tuesday threw out the first judicial challenge to the Obama administration's landmark climate rule for power plants. Now, the Court of Appeals for the District of Columbia Circuit ruled that the energy companies in states that filed the lawsuit had jumped the gun, and the court cannot yet review a regulation that has only been proposed but not made final. Though the decision was widely expected, it nonetheless hands the Environmental Protection Agency, the EPA, its first major win in defending President Obama's key executive action to fight climate change that does not exist. Man-made climate change does not exist. And I know you have some people that'll say, well, even if we're just causing a small part of it, we should change it. Look, I am not saying pollute unnecessarily. I'm not saying just ruin our planet and our climate. Absolutely not. But when you're not at fault for doing something, then you cannot fix it. When you're not in control of it, you cannot fix it. In other words, we're not in control of Mother Nature, so we can't fix it. We can clean up a mess that we make, sure. If we have an environmental mess we can clean it up. But, when it comes to doing things like, stopping volcanoes from spewing, ash, soot, and smoke in the air, well, we can't do that. When it comes to Mother Nature changing, the jet streams in the air to points that change the weather patterns dramatically. Well, we can't snap those jet streams back into order. We have no power over that. You know, when you have El Nina and La Nina and all that kind of other crap that they're talking about out there in ocean currents that change, well, we can't change it back. We can't do any of that stuff. We don't have any control over it. So, yeah, sure, we can, do a little bit of cleaning up. We can not pollute as much, not as put as much pollutants in the air. Great. But the small amount that we have dumped in the air over the past 150 years is not going to be enough to modify or change or dissuade the climate in any way, shape, or form. I mean, it's just pure arrogance to think that we could do such a thing. Now, the EPA says that they want us to do something that they can, the judge says that they want us to do something that they candidly acknowledge we have never done before, review the legality of a proposed rule. But we can't do that. But a proposed rule is just a proposal, he says. And he's right. You can't really go and rule on a proposed... Oh, yeah, that proposal is unconstitutional. Well, you don't even know what the proposal... You don't even know what it's going to end up being. Proposals aren't legitimate laws or regulations. So you can propose anything you want. Doesn't mean that it's going to become law. And frankly, that's, regulation has the same weight as law, so it might as well just be called a law. But the Obama administration, with that, readies big push on climate change. Now, this is from the Wall Street Journal. Proposals to curb emissions from trucks, airplanes, oil and natural gas operations, and power plants, which all is going to translate to bigger bills for you and me. More money out of our pockets, because it means that energy production and the transportation of goods and products and services is going to go through the roof. The Obama administration is planning a series of actions this summer to rein in greenhouse gas emissions from wide swaths of the economy, including trucks, airplanes, and we know, look, we're not the world's biggest polluters anymore. Hell, we're told that India and China are now up there. So, we could stop polluting 100%, and it still isn't going to change much because India and China aren't jumping aboard this, this man-made global warming crap, and neither is Russia. And let's face it, when the Soviet Union fell, Russia was an environmental nightmare. We thought we had some dirty rivers and lakes here in the United States, but when that Iron Curtain fell, and we could peek inside and behind the Iron Curtain, man, we could see some pretty nasty stuff. And even our most polluted lakes and streams look pristine compared to some of the stuff over there. So we're not the only ones doing this stuff, but you have these liberal nutjob idiots who want to who want you to think that we're the sole cause or we're the major cause. We're not. We're not the sole cause. We're not the major cause. And the funny thing is that they know it. They know it. They know it. The left knows it. But they just want to be able to control you anyway. It's all about control. It isn't about saving the planet, just so you know. Just telling you. And here's something that's a little bit disconcerting, actually, and this is from the Politico. Republican. Yes, I said Republican. Republican pledges $175 million to push party on climate. A North Carolina executive. North Carolina is pouring his own money into trying to sway people in the GOP to take global warming seriously. Bah ha 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 ha. That's how, I'm going to digress for a second. There are people out there that believe in the chemtrail thing. And, and if you don't know what chemtrails are, look it up. But the short description is that there are people who believe that the government is using commercial aircraft to spray mind control and weather control chemicals into the air while they're flying hitherto. And one of the pieces of evidence that they're using is, sometimes you can see in airplanes, you can see they're leaving behind a cloud. Well, that's proof of the chemicals. Now, even when you go to the plane, when it lands, and you inspect and investigate and say, well, okay, well, where are the spray jets and where are the spray canisters for all this stuff? It can't be found on the plane. Well, they hid them. Or they put the chemicals in the fuel and it comes out, so they burn it. Burned chemicals are really not going to do much to the population, but okay. So it gets ruled out, but yet they still believe that somehow that plane is part of the conspiracy of spreading chemtrails, and that pilots know this. Airline pilots know, and they've been sworn to secrecy under threat of and pain of imprisonment and all kinds of other things. I'm like, really? And that goes for all the mechanics too that work in the planes, and all the the people that work at the airport that have to serve the planes, like putting fuel in the planes and things. All those people are in on the conspiracy, and nobody is breaking the conspiracy because everybody's afraid of going to jail, I guess. Government putting them in jail. Or is it because, they've been hypnotized or what have you with the chemicals that they're using? So this is the same thing that is happening with global warming. No matter how much evidence you present to people that global warming does not exist, it's a fakery, they're not going to believe you. They're going to believe what they want to believe. I don't care how much proof you show them. I don't care how logical you end up trying to be with them. It doesn't matter if you're using PowerPoint or cartoons or what have you. It doesn't even matter if you give them a joint and say, smoke the whole joint, and then talk to them in a very friendly manner. They're still not going to believe you. They're going to believe what they're going to believe. Now, a Republican entrepreneur is putting a whopping $175 million behind a campaign whose message will have some party stalwarts seeing red. Now, he says the GOP needs to deal with climate change. Yeah, we need to deal with the fact that there isn't any, at least not man-made. Now, North Carolina businessman Jay Faison, Faison, I do believe that's how you pronounce it, will launch a social media and online advertising blitz backed by state and national digital advocacy efforts and a series of strategic grants as part of a $165 million campaign run through the Clear Path Foundation. The aim is to get the Republican Party to shift its skeptical view of climate change and green energy, topics that usually fall to the bottom of its list of priorities when they don't generate outright opposition among conservative voters. Well, it's because it's not a very big issue or deal for the voter at the moment. We have other issues. Other bigger issues. Other more important issues. Real issues. Now, in addition to his public education effort, Faison, Faison, is putting an additional $10 million of his own money into a separate political advocacy operation using the same nonprofit tax status designation as groups like President Barack Obama's Organizing for Action and Karl Rove's Crossroads GPS and several Tea Party groups. I love how they throw in the Tea Party groups. Well, yeah, he's doing the same thing as the Tea Party groups. He will also try to attract additional outside funds for the operation. Now, on Tuesday, Mr. Faison, who made a fortune from the sale of his Charlotte-based audio-visual equipment company, Snap AV, will unveil the first stage of his Clear Path campaign, including spending $40 million through 2016 to persuade moderates and conservatives to join the fight against climate change. There is no man-made climate change. That's the problem. How are you going to fight something that does not exist? You can't. You can cause all kinds of havoc and create all kinds of taxes and economic upheaval, but you're still not going to change the fact that there is no such thing as climate change. Man-made climate change. It's not. The climate can change, but it's not by man's doing. It's Mother Nature making the call here and there. Now, he says, I always felt a little alone out there as a Republican, and I also started Clear Path to create a dialogue around this in a way that hadn't been done before, and sort of be part of the solution, he said in an interview, adding he'd like to see the party's candidates debate the solutions to climate change, not the science. Well, how do you come up with solutions without science? That should tell you there. Well, don't pay attention to the science, folks. No. We need to come up with solutions to climate change, but don't use science to do it. Well, how are you going to come up with solutions if you're not going to pay attention or use science? I mean, after all, supposed science is telling us that we are the problem and that we have climate change. So you gotta, it is. Folks, it's only Tuesday. And I'm beside myself already. These people can be total and complete nut jobs. And they can drag you down to their level if you're not careful. And, look, hey, you wonderful people out there in scientific or in political circles, don't use science to come up with solutions for a scientific problem. No. Don't use science at all. Don't use science, because that'll only get you into trouble. Right? Because if you use science, you're not going to believe in global climate change, man-made climate change anyway, and you're going to believe that the Earth is just doing it all on her little own self, as she has done since the dawning of time. Be that 6,000 or 60,000 or 60 million or 60 billion years ago. I don't know how old they think science thinks the planet is, but in any case, they're all wrong. But anyway, it is that time of the night where we have come to an end, sadly. We'll be back here tomorrow. Same bat time, same bat channel. I'm Rod Eccles. This has been the Rod Eccles Show. I'm out.
is JD and Stacy with K98 Talk. We're here to talk to you about TPA. You may have called it Fast Track, TPA, or Trade Authority. Whatever it is called, it is a terrible idea and is coming up for a vote as early as June 11th.
Barack Obama is negotiating the Trans-Pacific Partnership under an unprecedented veil of secrecy. Our congressmen who view it are threatened with legal action if they disclose details of the documents to the American public.
Fast Track or Trade Promotion Authority, if passed, will prevent Congress from making amendments, debating the provisions, and allow passage of trade agreements with a simple majority.
There is no conservative case for Fast Track Trade Promotion Authority. Our systems of checks and balances demands that Congress weigh and debate trade agreements, demand that Congress does their job.
For information about Trade Promotion Authority and what it really means, visit coalitionforastrongamerica.com and then call your congressman and demand they vote no on TPA when it comes to the floor of the House. This has been a public service announcement by JD and Stacy of K98 Talk.